The snow came sideways that night. Quarter-sized flakes slamming against glass 30, 2 floors above a city that had already surrendered. Boston was drowning in white, and Daniel Harper stood at the window watching it happen. He should have left hours ago, but Grace was tucked into a sleeping bag at Madison's house tonight, giggling over cartoons, safe and warm and not waiting for him. No dinosaur nuggets to microwave. No third-grade math spreading across the kitchen table. For once, the quiet didn't feel like failure. It just felt like quiet. The office had emptied in waves. Marketing by 4, legal by 5, even the sales team, those relentless chasers of West Coast deals, had surrendered their desks to the storm. Every floor dark, every chair cold. All except one light, corner office, floor to ceiling glass overlooking the harbor. Evelyn Sterling. 3 years Daniel had worked at Sterling Tech. 11 times he'd stood in her presence. Each time, the air thinned. She didn't smile, didn't soften, didn't tolerate inefficiency or excuses or eye contact that lasted one breath too long. She was brilliant, precise, untouchable. But tonight, through the frosted glass walls of that corner office, Daniel could see her shoulders shaking. Her head was in her hands. Evelyn Sterling was crying, and he had never seen anything so human. He froze. Every instinct told him to turn away, pretend he hadn't seen, respect the fortress she'd spent years building around herself. But then her head lifted, their eyes met through the glass, 3 seconds. No movement, no sound. Just the howl of wind rattling the windows and something raw and unguarded passing between them. Then she stood, walked to the door, opened it. Her voice was barely audible over the storm. "Help me." The office smelled like bergamot and cold air. Her navy dress was wrinkled. Her hair, usually a perfect low bun, had come loose. Strands clung to damp cheeks. She needed him to come with her. A family wedding tonight. The Fairmont Copley Plaza. Daniel blinked. In this storm, why him? Because you won't ask the questions that matter, she said quietly. Then came the rest. 3 months together. Met at a board dinner in October. He'd commented on the wine pairing. She'd corrected him. He hadn't gotten defensive. She found that refreshing. She recited it like scripture she'd memorized in the dark. And the suit arrived 40 minutes later. Charcoal gray. Italian wool. Tom Ford. It fit like it had been made for him, because it had rush tailoring. Measurements pulled from his employee file photo. Evelyn had planned this. The only question was how long. The Mercedes idled at the curb, hazard lights cutting through the snow. Evelyn sat inside, transformed. Dark emerald gown, sleeveless, structured. Diamond earrings catching streetlight. She looked like she belonged on a magazine cover. But her hands were clenched in her lap. "Ground rules," she said without looking at him. October 15th. Board dinner at No Park. Private relationship. His daughter Grace, 8 years old, had met her twice. Liked her but wasn't sure yet. "That's realistic," Daniel said. "Children are perceptive," she replied. "They don't trust easily. Neither do you." Her jaw tightened. "My family needs proof that I'm not incapable of connection." The vulnerability in those words landed heavier than anything else she'd said. Then the rest spilled out. Clinical. Controlled. Almost rehearsed. Her mother, Margaret, who measured worth in pedigree and pearls. Her ex-fiancé, Nathaniel Cross. 8 months engaged. He'd wanted her to scale back. Said she chose the company over them. He wasn't wrong. She said it like a fact, like weather. He married someone else 6 months ago. "Your cousin," Daniel said quietly. She stared out the window. Snow streaked across the glass like static. "It's fine," she said. "It's not." Her fingers uncurled slightly. The car turned onto Dartmouth Street, and the Fairmont glowed ahead like a palace in the storm. The lobby was a cathedral of marble and gold. Crystal chandeliers the size of compact cars hung from vaulted ceilings. Persian rugs thick enough to swallow footsteps. A string quartet played Vivaldi near the curved staircase while waiters glided through the crowd with champagne flutes balanced on silver trays. Daniel's world was Grace's soccer games and grocery store sushi and fixing the washing machine with YouTube tutorials. This was something else entirely, wealth that didn't announce itself. It simply existed, unquestioned and absolute. Evelyn's hand slipped into his. Her palm was still cold. "Smile," she murmured. "My mother's watching." Margaret Sterling stood near the grand staircase, draped in cream silk and pearls. 70, but looked 55. Posture military straight, pale blue eyes that locked onto Daniel like a sniper finding her target. She approached slowly, deliberately. Evelyn, no warmth, just acknowledgement. Then her gaze shifted. And you must be Daniel. He extended his hand. She took it with 2 fingers. Yale, I'm told. Yes, ma'am, class of 2009. And your family? Pittsburgh. My father was a union electrician. My mother taught elementary school. The silence said everything Margaret's face wouldn't. How grounded, she said finally. The word landed like a stone wrapped in silk. Evelyn's grip on Daniel's hand tightened. Then a voice cut through the tension. Evie, a tall man in his early 40s, approached. Sandy hair, easy smile, warmth that felt genuine in a room full of performance. William Sterling. The disappointing sibling, he announced cheerfully, shaking Daniel's hand with both of his. He's a professor at Harvard, Evelyn said, and her shoulders relaxed a fraction. Constitutional law, William added. Pays nothing. Impresses no one at these events. But at least I'm not running a tech empire and dating an employee. He winked at Daniel. You're definitely the rebel now. Margaret's jaw tightened. We should find our table. She turned and walked away, heels clicking on marble. William watched her go, then looked at his sister. The warmth in his eyes shifted to something quieter. Something that understood. Fine, he asked. Liar, he said gently. Hang in there. Then he squeezed her shoulder and walked off into the crowd. Evelyn exhaled slowly. And for just a moment, standing in that glittering room full of strangers who shared her blood, she looked like a child who'd been holding her breath for 30 years. Evelyn's laugh was still hanging in the air, quiet and real and unexpected, when a voice behind them made her entire body go rigid. Evelyn, you look stunning. Daniel turned. The man standing there was perfect. Objectively, undeniably perfect. Tailored tuxedo, sharp jawline, dark hair graying at the temples in that distinguished way that only seemed to happen to men who'd never doubted their place in the world. He looked like he'd stepped out of a Cologne advertisement. And the way Evelyn was looking at him told Daniel everything he needed to know. This was Nathaniel Cross, the wound that hadn't healed. His smile was polished, practiced, the kind that had probably closed 1,000 deals and ended just as many conversations on his terms. It's been a while, he said to Evelyn. 6 months, she replied, her voice controlled. Too controlled, has it? He tilted his head like the answer amused him. His gaze shifted to Daniel. And you are? Daniel Harper. They shook hands. Nathaniel's grip was firm, competitive, deliberate. How do you know Evelyn? We're dating. Nathaniel's eyebrows rose just a fraction. Are you? How unexpected. Why unexpected? Evelyn asked. Because you once told me you didn't have time for relationships. That work came first. That commitment meant compromise, and you didn't compromise. His tone was light, but the words landed like stones dropped from a height. Has something changed? Daniel watched Evelyn's face. Watched the way she held herself perfectly still, the way her jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, the way years of practice kept her expression smooth while something underneath was cracking. I met someone worth compromising for, she said. Nathaniel studied Daniel then. Really looked at him. The way you examine something you're deciding whether to take seriously. And what do you do, Daniel? I work at Sterling Tech. A pause that carried weight. You work for her. With her, Daniel corrected, quietly. For the second time tonight, Nathaniel's smile sharpened. How modern. Dating your employee. I'm sure HR loves that. We're transparent about it, Evelyn said coolly. Unlike some people, the air between them crackled. Nathaniel raised his hands in mock surrender, but his eyes stayed sharp. I'm not here to fight Evie. I'm happy for you. Truly, he glanced toward the ballroom entrance. Claire will be thrilled to hear you've moved on. Claire, the cousin, the woman Nathaniel had married 6 months after leaving Evelyn. The silence that followed was louder than anything. Enjoy the wedding, Nathaniel said. He paused, looked at Daniel one last time. Take care of her, she's fragile. Even if she won't admit it. Then he walked away, and Evelyn stood perfectly still. Too still. The kind of still that comes right before something breaks. I need air. She turned and walked toward the terrace doors. Fast. Precise. like she was fleeing something that had already caught her. Daniel followed. The terrace was empty. Snow swirled through the air, coating stone balustrades and wrought iron furniture in white. The wind cut through Daniel's suit jacket like it wasn't there. Evelyn didn't seem to notice. She gripped the railing with both hands. Knuckles white. "He's wrong," Daniel said quietly. "About what? You're not fragile." She laughed. Bitter and sharp, and nothing like the real one he'd heard minutes ago. "You don't know me. I know you built a company from nothing. I know you've survived rooms full of people who wanted you to fail. I know you don't cry in front of anyone. Except tonight." She turned to face him, eyes glassy, wind pulling at her hair. "Do you know why I asked you to come? Tell me." "Because Nathaniel was right. I don't know how to let people in. I don't know how to be soft. I don't know how to be anything other than this." She gestured at herself. "Controlled? Competent? Cold? You're not cold." "Yes, I am." "Then why are you shaking?" She looked down at her hands. They were trembling. "I used to think strength meant not needing anyone," she said quietly. "That if I could just be smart enough and work hard enough and prove myself enough, I wouldn't have to ask for help. And now I'm standing on a terrace in a snowstorm with a man I barely know pretending we're in love because I'm too scared to walk into that room alone." Daniel stepped closer, close enough to see snowflakes catching in her hair. "I lost my wife 4 years ago," he said. "Car accident, black ice. She was coming home from a conference and I got the call at 2 in the morning. Grace was 4. Evelyn's expression softened. "For a year I was a ghost," he continued. "I went through the motions. Fed Grace, read bedtime stories. But I wasn't there. Not really. What changed? Grace asked me if I was sad because of her." Evelyn's breath caught. She thought my distance was her fault, that she wasn't enough. And I realized I'd been so focused on protecting myself from the pain that I'd forgotten how to be present. "How did you fix it?" "I stopped pretending I was fine. I let her see me cry. I let her be scared and I was scared with her. And slowly we found our way back." Evelyn was quiet for a long time. Snow fell around them. The music inside played on. Then softly, "I don't know how to do that. Let someone see me break." Daniel reached out slowly, gave her time to pull away. She didn't. He took her hand. "You already did," he said. "Tonight in your office." A tear slid down her cheek. Then another. Then she was crying. Really crying. And Daniel didn't speak. Didn't try to fix it. He just held her while the snow fell around them silent and relentless and the city below disappeared into white. Evelyn's body shook against his. Not from the cold. From something deeper. Something she'd been holding in for months. Maybe years. Daniel didn't move. Didn't speak. Just held her while the wind howled and the string quartet played Pachelbel's canon somewhere inside and the wedding carried on without them. Neither of them noticed. "I'm sorry," she whispered eventually, her voice muffled against his shoulder. "For what? For falling apart?" "You're not falling apart. You're just feeling." She pulled back slightly, looked up at him. Mascara streaked down her cheeks. Lipstick smudged. She looked nothing like the polished CEO who closed 9-figure deals before lunch. She looked human. "I haven't cried in front of someone since I was 12, she said quietly. "What happened when you were 12? "My father died. Heart attack. I found him in his study." Her voice went flat, detached. The way people sound when they've told a story so many times it stops belonging to them. "My mother told me crying wouldn't bring him back, that I needed to be strong for William. So I was." Daniel's chest tightened. She wiped at her face. "It made me who I am. Ruthless, efficient, successful, lonely." The word hung between them. She didn't take it back. "People leave," she said. "People also stay," Daniel said quietly. Evelyn met his eyes. Something shifted. The walls she'd built brick by brick year by year started to crack. Not collapse, just crack. Enough to let the light through. "I'm tired," she whispered. "I'm so tired of holding everything together." "Then let go." "I can't." "Yes, you can. What if I fall apart? Then I'll be here." She stared at him, searching his face for a lie, for a catch. For the moment he'd walk away like everyone else. But Daniel didn't move. And slowly she leaned forward. Her forehead rested against his chest. Her hands gripped his jacket. Then she lifted her face, and he kissed her, soft, tentative. giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. She kissed him back. Her hands slid up to his shoulders. His arms circled her waist, and the storm disappeared. The wedding disappeared. There was just this, two people on a frozen terrace choosing to be seen. When they finally pulled apart, her eyes were wide. That wasn't pretend, she whispered. No. It wasn't. They stood there, foreheads touching, breathing in the cold air between them. Then the terrace door opened. Margaret Sterling stood in the doorway, her expression frozen. Evelyn didn't step away from Daniel, didn't drop his hand, didn't retreat into the controlled, untouchable version of herself. She stayed. Mother, she said calmly. Margaret's gaze moved between them. The ceremony is starting. We'll be there in a moment. A long silence, cold as the snow. Then Margaret turned and walked back inside, heels clicking on marble. Evelyn exhaled. That went well, Daniel said. Evelyn laughed, quiet and tired and real. She hates you. Does that bother you? She looked up at him. Snow catching in her hair. Mascara still streaked across her cheeks. No, she said. And she meant it. They'd just reached their table when a hand landed on Daniel's shoulder. Nathaniel. Of course. Mind if I borrow him for a moment? His tone was friendly. Too friendly. Evelyn's grip tightened. It's fine, Daniel said quietly. He looked at her. I'll be right back. She wanted to protest. He could see it in her face. But she nodded. Nathaniel led him toward the bar. Away from the crowd. Into the shadows near the corridor. Scotch, Nathaniel offered. I'm good. Suit yourself. He ordered a double, took a long sip, then set the glass down with the careful precision of a man who'd rehearsed what came next. Evelyn is brilliant, he said. Driven. Extraordinary. But she's incapable of putting another person first. She can't. It's not in her wiring. You don't know her as well as you think. I was engaged to her for 8 months. Nathaniel's voice softened. She'll tell you she's trying. She'll make promises. But when it matters, when there's a choice between you and the company, she'll choose the company. Every time. Maybe she just didn't choose you. Nathaniel's smile faded. I cared about her. Wanted to build a life with her. But she couldn't let go of control long enough to let me in. He paused. Can she do that with you? Daniel thought about the terrace. About the way she'd broken open in his arms. About the kiss that had felt like the first honest thing either of them had done in years. Yeah, he said. She can. Nathaniel studied him. Then you're either lying or you're in for a world of hurt. I'll take my chances. Because she's worth it. Nathaniel laughed. Bitter and low. Good luck. He walked away. Daniel returned to the table. Evelyn saw the tension in his shoulders immediately. What did he say? Nothing important. Daniel, he said you can't love, that you'll always choose work over everything else. Her face went pale. Is he right? She opened her mouth. Closed it. I don't know. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Before Daniel could respond, Nathaniel appeared again. This time publicly, confidently. Standing where the whole room could see. He had an offer. Crossbridge Consulting. Tech Advisory Division. Partnership equity. Full autonomy, better hours, better balance. You could actually have a life, Evelyn. I have a life. Do you? He gestured around the ballroom. You're 38 years old, 80-hour weeks. No hobbies. No friends outside work. You barely see your family. And now you're dating an employee because he's convenient. The words hit like bullets. Because every single one was true. I'm offering you a way out, Nathaniel said gently. A way to be excellent without sacrificing everything else. Evelyn looked at him. Really looked. He meant it. He genuinely thought he was helping. And he was wrong. No, she said, her voice steady. Certain. Because I'm not looking for a way out. I'm looking for a way through. It means I'm tired of people telling me I have to choose. Work or life. Success or love. Control or vulnerability. I don't want balance. I want integration. I want a life where I can be ambitious and soft, driven and present, successful and human. That's not realistic. Maybe not. But it's what I want. Nathaniel shook his head. You're chasing an impossible standard. Then I'll fail. But at least I'll fail trying to be whole, not trying to be half of myself. She turned to Daniel. He was watching her, eyes dark, expression unreadable, but steady, present, the way he'd been all night. I choose myself, Evelyn said. Loud enough for Nathaniel to hear. Loud enough for the room. Not the version of me that makes other people comfortable. Not the version that's easy to understand. The real one. The messy, complicated, imperfect one. Nathaniel stared at her. You're making a mistake. Probably. She smiled. Small and real. But it's mine to make. He stood there a moment longer. Then nodded slowly, turned and walked away. The room was quiet. That particular silence that falls when a crowd of people realizes they've witnessed something they weren't supposed to see. Then William started clapping. Slow. Deliberate. A few others joined. Tentative at first, then louder. Margaret stood frozen near the head table. Her expression unreadable. Evelyn didn't look at her. She looked at Daniel. And for the first time in her life, she didn't care what anyone else thought. Not her mother. Not her ex. Not the cousins and family friends hiding whispers behind champagne flutes. She crossed to him. Took his hand. Let's get out of here. Daniel smiled. What about the wedding? They'll survive without me. Your mother. We'll get over it. He laughed. You sure? Evelyn squeezed his hand. I've never been more sure of anything. They walked through the ballroom together. Past the 10-tier cake that cost more than Daniel's car. Past the string quartet still playing something beautiful for people who weren't listening. Past Margaret Sterling standing in cream silk and pearls watching her daughter leave with a union electrician's son from Pittsburgh. Evelyn didn't look back. Not once. The doors opened and the cold hit them immediately. Snow swirling thick and relentless. Boston buried and quiet and waiting. She stepped into it. Not the version of herself that performed. Not the CEO. Not the daughter. Not the woman Nathaniel had tried to reshape into something softer and smaller and easier to hold. Just Evelyn. Terrified and tired and honest and real. Daniel's hand was warm in hers. The storm raged. And they walked into it together. The penthouse was exactly what Daniel expected. Floor to ceiling windows overlooking the harbor. Minimalist furniture. Sharp lines. Neutral colors. Nothing out of place. Art on the walls that probably cost more than his annual salary. Everything curated. Everything controlled. Everything empty. Evelyn kicked off her heels the moment the door closed. She disappeared into the kitchen and returned with 2 glasses of water. They stood side by side looking out at the storm. I bought this place 5 years ago, she said quietly. After the engagement ended, I wanted something that was mine. Something no one could touch. Something I controlled completely. She set down her glass. But it's just space. I work, I sleep, I leave. There's nothing here that makes it home. They ended up on the couch, not doing anything. Just sitting close, her head on his shoulder, his hand in her hair, the storm raging outside while the city slept. Tell me about Grace, Evelyn said softly. Daniel smiled. She's fierce, smart. Funny. She asked me last week if women can be presidents, and when I said yes, she announced she's running in 2048. Evelyn laughed. She sounds incredible. She is. He paused. She'd like you. I'd like to meet her. For real. Yeah. I'm scared, Evelyn admitted after a while. Of what? Of this? Of us. Of wanting something I might not get to keep. That's love, Daniel said quietly. It's terrifying because it's real and real things can be lost. How do you live with that? You don't. You just love anyway. Stay, she whispered. Tonight. Tomorrow. As long as you want. Okay, we're gonna mess this up. Probably. But you're staying anyway. Yeah, I'm staying. Evelyn woke to unfamiliar warmth, Daniel's arm across her waist. His breathing steady. Snow still falling outside but softer now, gentler. Dawn breaking gray and quiet through the glass. She made coffee, brought him a mug. They sat by the window watching Boston wake up beneath fresh snow. What happens now, she asked. I don't know. That doesn't scare you. Terrifies me. She smiled. Good. I'd hate to be the only one. Daniel reached for her hand. We'll figure it out, one day at a time. One honest conversation at a time. One mistake at a time. Evelyn leaned into him. Outside the city stretched endlessly white and new and waiting. Inside 2 people sat in the quiet morning light. Not perfect. Not certain. Just real. And maybe that's the truth we keep forgetting. Love doesn't ask us to be perfect. It asks us to be present. To stop performing. To let someone see the real version of us, the messy and tired and imperfect one. And trust that they'll stay anyway. So if you're watching this tonight, and you're exhausted from holding everything together, this is your permission to let go. to be human, to be seen. Because the real you is brave. The real you is enough. The real you is worth staying for. Now I'd love to know, which country are you watching from tonight? Drop it in the comments. And if this story stayed with you, share it with someone who might need to hear it too.